your decision to come here? What, just when you were being courted by?
Yeah, I could not find a person, Will included. Obviously in coaching a small fraternity, a lot of people that have worked here. Could not find one person that said anything but it was their favorite place to live. And it was really a family-based decision for me. I think how Coach Freeze runs his program, what's important to him, and how family is very included. That's how the decision was made.
What have you, since getting here, what are kind of your early impressions?
It's been great. The community's been great. I think facility-wise, it's top-notch. And I really like the culture and the attitude of the team. We have a group of guys that are very, very coachable, willing to do what we're asking them to do. We're 3 practices in. There's a lot to work on, a lot of things to get better, but I haven't got it all figured out. No, but you know what? Like they're very willing and they're coachable, and so that part's been enjoyable.
DJ, have you ever been in a situation at other stops where you've had to play as many young folks as you might have to play this year in the secondary and possibly on the defensive line too?
I mean, I guess maybe it's something becoming more common because the answer prior to 2 years ago would have been no. But 2 years ago, at the last school, was that we played a lot of freshmen, the most I'd ever been a part of, and it was up and down. We improved as we went. Obviously, with young guys, that's what it is. But so I think I learned from that experience as well. To where, as you're saying, we're going to be a young team in a lot of areas, and so I think I have a better feeling, more comfort for myself to say, okay, what can we do? What are we capable of? What things do we need to maybe we learn from the past of let's be better in this area.
What will be different with your defense and what they've been accustomed to in the last years?
I think there are some similarities, which I think is good for our guys that you can draw on. I think a lot of times defensively, it's like learning a new language, right? We may call it this, you call it that prior to whatever it is. It's learning those terms, but I think for us, man, it's really focused on we want to be very aggressive in everything we do. We want to apply pressure on the quarterback, and to me, defense is so much about what is your effort, how do you tackle. And how do you execute more than what you do? So I guess long story short, it's more about how you do things than what you do. That's our focus. Like, how are we going to do this with a great energy, effort, and level of execution in our tackling?
Yeah, you're probably not going to do anything that's going to fool anybody. Most of those offensive guys that see about everything.
Yeah, right. I mean, when you look at it, everyone does some form of something. You could point someone else does is similar, but to me it's more about who's doing it and how are they doing it. What is the level they're doing it at?
DJ, have you worked with Crime or any of the guys on the staff before, or are you sort of coming in and trying to build new relationships with those guys?
Yeah, I have not. I mean, Crime is a guy that I followed him at Ole Miss. A guy I've known, and we know plenty of similar people and I work together. Charles Kelly is, I feel like I've known him and worked with him because we have so many people in common that we've both worked with. So I have a really good relationship with him, and he's fantastic. But technically, no, any guy on that staff, I have not. There's some guys off the field that I've brought with me, but on the field, no.
Is it hard, leading a staff that you really didn't put together yourself, so to speak?
To be honest with you, that's a concern. That was a concern, but a credit to those guys, it's been really smooth. We have a great group of guys, really talented coaches, and good people, and we've meshing along very well.
Good job since you left Maryland. Why do you think you deserved a second chance at this coaching career?
Second chance at coaching career. I think all along the people that know you and been around you, they know you. I think those opportunities are provided by people that have done their homework and know who I am as a person and what I stand for as a coach. And that's it. That'd be someone else's, I guess, question to answer, not mine.
How are you different from the time when you were at Maryland?
I think that there's evolution always in life and in coaching. That I'm different this year than I was from last year. I think you always learn. You look back, reflect, and say, okay, what are things I could have done differently, done better? That's part of the improvement. We always do with our players. I would say, coaches, let's do it for ourselves too. Like evaluate how we can do things better and differently. And so, I think that's if you're not growing or learning as a person, right, then what are you doing?
DJ, I know you're just 3 practices in, but what do you like about some of the personnel you've seen so far? What do you think could be the strengths of your defense, possibly?
Yeah, I mean, it's early. Like yesterday was the first day with pads on, but I like all of our guys are really, I think, committed to trying to do things we're asking them to do. Like you can see the want to out there, the effort playing together, and they're very coachable, you know. And so I think we just let the meeting right now to talk through personnel and what all that is. I mean, we're especially on defense because we're a new system, and I'm trying to learn what the guys are like. We're not real depth chart based right now. We have groups and we're rolling and rotating and giving guys all opportunities to be out there and show what they can do. And so, you know, we're far from making those decisions, but I like the mindset and the culture and what we have with these guys right now.
I feel like, I'm sorry.
I think going off that, what's your early impressions of Antonio Kite?
Yeah, Antonio, he's extremely talented. He's, you know, just a natural movement and cover skills for a corner. And then, you know, I think Antonio, like, he's got to keep on his confidence. I see so much in him that maybe he doesn't always, like, at least show outwardly that he sees it himself, but he has a chance to be a really good player for us. He'll help us.
Your group in particular, linebackers, you do have some veterans there, right? You got Keys, you got Asante, you brought in Mouse?
Dorian, yes.
Yeah, how do you feel about that group?
Yeah, I mean, I feel good about those guys. Like, I think those guys are, you know, I say all the time, like, your Mike linebacker, your inside linebackers are kind of the quarterbacks of the defense, and we have good experience, and I think the right guys there. You know, I think Austin Keys and I go back and I coached him when I was at Ole Miss as well, so I've had a relationship with him, and Gene has been awesome. I mean, he's such a fun guy to coach, be around. Man, he's got energy and a big smile, and goes 100 miles an hour, and Dorian's been a great addition for us. I mean, just an experienced guy, you know, really good knowledge of the game, leader type person, and so I think all three of those guys for sure are a major part of what we're building around them.
And I know, again, personnel-wise, you got 2 true freshmen at linebacker. You got 3 freshman defensive linemen, another freshman edge or 2. And these are not guys you recruited necessarily, but how do you feel about their talent from what you've seen?
Yeah, but we're really excited about that class. Those guys they're all very talented, and it's such an advantage now, like being here mid-year and going through all this. You know, they're obviously, you know, at times look like freshmen out there, but at times they flash and do stuff like, whoa, okay, this guy can really do stuff to help us. So it's the biggest thing is creating the consistency of, you know, to be out there playing, it's got to be where, like, the coaches know, all right, I know what I'm going to get from this guy, or at least have a pretty good idea of what you're going to get. And so that's what they're working on. But these reps are all so valuable for those guys, and we feel great about that class as a whole of their talent level and where they're going to be.
You as when you get in your business, and you've been at Maryland, and you've been at Ole Miss, and you've been at Texas A&M, and you've been at Auburn, and your family, how difficult is that? Because you never know. I mean, you could be the greatest coach in the world and still lose your job if the head coach gets fired.
That's right.
That's right. How difficult is that for a family to cope with?
Yeah, it is. I mean, especially, like, for us in particular, as your kids get older, it becomes more difficult. When it's just you and your wife, or your kids are young, yeah. You know, it's kind of like you pick up and go. Yeah, but it's your kids. We're like, you know, we know what we signed up for. They didn't sign up for it, and so then, you know, they have their group of friends and they're on their sports teams and they're in school, and then they've got up and move and leave, and so yeah, those are all the things that definitely, you know, people don't always think about, but they're major for a family. Yeah.
How involved will Coach Freeze be in the defensive scheme between you and Coach Kelly?
I mean, everything we do is under the direction of how Coach wants things as a whole, his vision of the program. I think, obviously, his majority of his time is spent with offense because that's his background, what he does. But we're certainly, everything we do, we run by him. We just, you know, we sat and watched practice and we talk on both sides of the ball, and he's involved from that standpoint. I love getting feedback from him from an offensive standpoint of, hey, this gives us a problem, that not so much. Like, I always love hearing those things. So those are really good conversations for me.
Do you mind me asking me your recruiting philosophy? Do you have a bug has to be this size, this speed and stuff? Or what do you look for when you're out there recruiting or evaluating talent?
Yeah, I mean, like, we do have those numbers, and you don't want to say parameters because, like, not every guy fits that mold. We're like, I think it's easier to have that at the NFL level because you're now, you know, drafting guys that are grown men. They've gone through the maturity of, they're 22 years old and everything else. Yes, they'll still develop as a player, but you're kind of getting what you see. For us, it's such a developmental game, developmental age for these guys to be stuck to those parameters. Like, guys are going to grow, their body's going to change. They're only 17, 18 years old. Now it's 16, when we're starting to recruit a lot of them. So to me, it's more about, I'm like, when a guy's on film, you want his effort level to show up, you want his competitive edge to show up. I think guys that are competitive naturally will always find a way to rise to the top. And you take an extremely talented guy that doesn't have that type of fight or competitiveness in him, and then you bring him into this level or whatever level it is. At some point when it gets even with them, those guys fade away. And so that's what we're looking for on film. We're looking for in our questions with the coaches and people around them. Do they have that edge to them? And then they got to have production. To me, like a guy can run a certain time, jump a vertical, whatever. But like, some guys make plays, some don't. We want the guys that are making plays. Like, they're there and they find a way to make the play.
Thank you.
Good. All right, guys. Thank you.